YouTube. Back at it again with another one, family. Today we doing brown stew goat, Jamaican style. Stick around. Now to start this off, we going with about 1.5 pounds of goat meat, right? You could pretty much get this at any local supermarket. If not, try your butcher store, your local butcher store if it's still open, right? Now here we have our meat straight out the pack. Can't just begin to start cooking with it, so we have to wash it. Now we go with about 3 capfuls of white vinegar, another 3 capfuls of apple cider vinegar, and then we soak that with some water and lime, and we let that chill out for about 2 hours or so. Now here we have the rest of our seasoning. This is just some white onion or yellow onion, some thyme, scallion, and garlic. Now here we go with our pimento seed. With a meat like goat that's very strong and gamey, normally with any other kind of meat, you would just put the pimento seed in the pot with the meat. But with this kind of meat, you just normally, for me, I like to break it up, not crush it completely. I like to take something, blunt object, wrap it in foil, and just crush it so that we could just open up the flavor of the actual pimento seed, as you can see here. Now we begin to add our dry seasoning. We have about a tablespoon of onion powder, a tablespoon of garlic powder. You can use as much or as little as you want, but a tablespoon should be enough for like 1.5 pounds of meat, right? So now we have some Grace all-purpose seasoning, which we use about 2 tablespoons of. Now we have some Lawry's, well, not necessarily Lawry's, but it's seasoned salt. If you have Lawry's, that's fine also. So that's about 1.5 tablespoons. And we have some black pepper, another tablespoon. And pink Himalayan salt. It's one of my favorite salts right now. It's one of my top seasonings right now. I recommend everybody out there to go get this. Now, as per usual, we just take our hands and we mix. With this meat, you want to specifically thoroughly rub this meat with this seasoning because it's a very strong meat and it needs it, right? So as per usual, like I said earlier, just, take your hands, work in every individual piece with that seasoning. This process is very important to me because with meat like goat and like oxtail, I let this sit for at least 24 hours in the fridge after seasoning. So you really want to work and incorporate as much of this seasoning onto this meat as possible. Now we add in the rest of our seasoning, which some people will call aromatics. We just put it in here and we work it in and incorporate it just like we did with the dry seasoning. Only thing to this, we just add just a little bit of water just to make sure everything sticks to that meat and stays on it and helps flavor it as thoroughly as possible. So it's the same exact process, just with a different set of ingredients. Like I said, I normally let this go for 24 hours, but you could go for about 12. Now here we are the next day, right? Literally. So we just add a little bit of oil to the bottom of the pan, just enough to cover it. And then we begin to add in our meat. Now what you want to do is make sure that you take off as much of the onion and garlic as possible before you add this to the pan, right? Because we save that for later as another step in the cooking process. Also, what you want to do is be very mindful of the oil in the pot, right? So when you look at the olive oil, just watch how it changes color because this is important in the next step in the cooking process. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if you see the color of that oil, it has changed. That's the actual fat from the goat coming out. Now, once you see that begin to happen is when you add in the rest of your ingredients, right? Because a lot of times when people have goat, they have it and it tastes like really rubbery and it's like tough because they let too much of the fat cook out of it, right? So that initial browning process, we just brown off the meat just enough, just till that oil starts to come out, that fat starts to come out of the meat. Then we begin the next step in our cooking process. So here we have some Grace browning, right? And as a Jamaican, I don't really have the actual, measurement to it, but eyeballing it, this is about 2 tablespoons, right? Also, what you want to be very mindful of if you're using browning is not to use too much because it will make your food taste like it's burnt, right? So be very, very careful with it. It's better to use a little bit less than to use more than what you maybe need. It's just like salt. You can put salt in, but you can't take salt out, right? So what we're doing here, we're just incorporating it, making sure everything is blended in well. Then we cover the pot for about 20 minutes. We come back, right? As you can see, things are starting to cook down a little bit more. And to this, it's another step in our cooking process. So what we do here is we add water just enough to just barely cover the meat, right? Because this is now the process that we're gonna use to stew this down to basically a gravy, right? So we add just enough water to barely cover it, right? And then we begin to add in some more of our ingredients, right? Some more aromatics, some more flavors. And to this, we add some tomato paste. This is about 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. And if you don't have tomato paste, ketchup is also fine. But that concentrated tomato paste, it hit different, you feel me? So now we have, our tomato paste and our sauce and our stew and our gravy. And we just make sure we incorporate it thoroughly, get it all the way mixed in, right? So you can't see any of it anywhere, right? Then we begin to add some more aromatics, which will be our bay leaves. So into this, we go with about 3 bay leaves and then 1 Scotch bonnet. And then we cover that down for about another hour and a half on a medium-low heat. All right. So here we have it. Oh yeah. All right, you see how that gravy thickened up? So about an hour and a half, so about more towards the half-hour point, the last half hour of it, added in 2 carrots that we cut up. And then we close the pot again and we just let that finish cooking. And this is the end result, people. Fork tender goat. Man, you could eat this with no teeth. Trust me, promise you. It's really this is a process that is gonna get you what you're looking for in some goat, man. So appreciate each and every last one of y'all for tapping in with me. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, man. Bless.